Welcome to the Data Dojo podcast, hosted by Adam Massey and powered by the Aurek Group. Every week, we dive deep into the world of data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Here, we bring you conversations with the leading minds who are shaping the future of these cutting-edge fields. So get ready to unlock the secrets of data and discover the stories behind the algorithms.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Data Dojo podcast. I'm your host, Adam Massey, and today I've got a really exciting guest. Jonathan Mack is the Director of Business Data at Nearmap, and Nearmap is a leading Australian geospatial and location intelligence company. Now, John started out as their first ever data hire about 7 years ago and has grown with the business, evolving from an analyst to a data engineer, and now leading out a lean but impactful data function that supports marketing, finance, product, and customer operations. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk through what it takes to build a scalable, stakeholder-first data function from the ground up, and how John and his team use modern data tools like DBT, Looker, and AWS to drive business value. We're also going to touch on automation and LLMs and how they're redefining time to insights at Nearmap as well. So if you ever wondered what a true data maturity looks like inside a tech-driven, product-led company, then this is the episode for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi there, and welcome to the Data Dojo podcast. My name's Adam. This week I'm joined by John from Nearmap. Welcome to the pod. How are you today?
Nice to be here, and thanks for having me here as well. Thanks,
excellent. Adam. So basically, we've known each other a while. What I'd like to do is maybe just give this audience a sense of who Nearmap are, for those who aren't familiar with what that business does, and where you kind of fit into things over there.
So Nearmap is a geospatial content and locational intelligence company. So our mission is to be the source of truth that shapes a livable world. What that means is that we have our own proprietary hardware, so basically camera systems, both the cameras, all the way to the stabilization platform that we put on the fuselage of a plane. We fly it over countries in Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada as well.
Yeah.
So we try to capture basic photos of the ground truth, and then we piece them together. Make something kind of like Google Earth or Google Maps, but we have sort of much better frequency in terms of our captures, much higher quality, higher definition photos and images as well. So we piece them together, we serve it to our customers as content. Apart from being a content company, we also have run a lot of AI so that we extract a lot of insights from the imagery that we have.
Yeah.
So say, how many sort of swimming pools are there in a certain suburb in Sydney? How many roofs are there in Brisbane that has a tree overhang, right? So all those things are sort of risk items to different kinds of customers. Say if you're an insurance company and especially in the States, you insure a house, so the roof, is a big exposure. How much risk is there? What's the fire risk around your property, right? So all those things, they get sort of accounted for, when you go and take out a policy, and also, when they sort of pay you out when, after something happened as well. So a lot of use cases like that.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, with Nearmap, the customers that would work with you guys with your tools and platform is things like insurance companies, maybe things like chartered surveyors who may need to do measurements precisely on different areas without having to go and visit them. Is that right?
Yeah. So a lot of insurance companies these days, we also have a big geospatial customer base as well. So local governments, urban planning, engineering companies as well. If you're a construction company, you want to build something somewhere, you need a lot like site planning, right? So we provide the tooling for you to do that. There's also, you don't want to plan your site over a photo that's captured by the satellite, by Google 2 years ago. You want something that is 3 months ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, something that's really recent. So those are sort of our main customer base as well.
Excellent. So I guess what we can do to start with is maybe just sort of talk a bit about your background and bring us up to state with what your role looks like at the moment. What's your journey like, and how did you kind of wind up at Nearmap?
Yeah, so I joined Nearmap about 7 years ago. Probably next week is going to be my 7th year. So 7 years ago as a sort of junior analyst, and I was the first data hire in the company. So back then, it was about, I don't know, 100 something, 200 people in the company, and they just started having the concept of a data function. So hire me as the first data hire, and just to build up the reporting system. So we had a Redshift data warehouse back then, and also we just brought in DBT. So we're really early adopter of DBT, and that's something that I think we're still pretty proud of, like way ahead of the curve. And also Looker as well back then, 7 years ago. So my first a year and a half, 2 years, it was a lot about building out that sort of data ecosystem, the foundation of it, right? Key reports to key stakeholders, develop that relationship, so that the team could grow afterwards. Then I sort of changed a little bit into data engineering. So as I did more and more data work, and we started to hire other analysts as well, so I became the first data engineer. And there I just sort of worked a little bit more back-end, a little bit more inside the data warehouse, a little bit more about ingestion of data, working with different AWS services. We are a huge AWS customers. We run everything on it, a bunch of databases, a lot of data sources there as well. And then obviously, as the company grew and the team grew as well, and we expanded, from just supporting go-to-market or finance to like product to our engineering to our technology teams, to our marketing teams as well. So the team expanded. I just got moved up a little bit by bit, to support other analysts, support other engineers. So that's where I'm at now.
And your role at the moment then, so just describe to me what you're the director or head of data, is that correct now?
So currently I'm the director of business data, and I look after basically all the business related data. So all the customer data, marketing data, finance data, product data as well. Why it's called business data is because obviously, I mentioned we're a geospatial content company. There's a whole bunch of like images and petabytes and petabytes of compressed files, somewhere in S3. So those are managed by other like sort of more back-end engineering teams. And I sort of take care of the rest.
Okay, excellent. And I guess with your journey going in as like, the first data hire, what are the kind of challenges you saw then trying to elevate yourself into this kind of leadership position?
Yeah, I guess in hindsight, the most important thing, and not necessarily that was my biggest challenge, because I should have prioritized better. But if I were to do it again, I would say the most important thing would be to develop that sort of deep relationship with key stakeholders. So, you're a new team. As a data team, you really got to treat your value, your service as a product, because data team can't really exist on its own. Like, it does really nothing. If people don't give you data, or people don't take your report or your insight, you're providing nothing. So to really get close enough to the business teams, and as a very early data team, you probably don't have that much bandwidth as well. So pick and choose your battles. Find your first customer. Try to build a good story. Make sure they're happy, and then try to expand out of them. And obviously, that's on the sort of business end of things. But on the engineering side, obviously, having making good technical decision would really help building the team, beyond the first and second year. How many things are scalable? You might not be able to do everything in a scalable way, but you need to leave some room for yourself. Like, okay, I might have to do a little bit more today, but I still focus on delivering whatever I promise people. But that little bit more that I'm putting in today will help me next year, the year after, a lot.
Yeah. And I guess what's the kind of makeup of your team look like at the moment then? So you've got kind of engineers in there, you've got data scientists or analysts and things like that as well?
Yeah, so we're a really lean data function. So for a 500 people company, we're able to support the needs with about like 6-7 of us. Okay. So we have 3 analytics engineers, and we have a couple analysts as well. And there's another sort of data scientist federated to another business team. what we're kind of missing is probably, compared to other teams, is probably like a strong data engineering function, which is half the time it's me, but the other half of the time we don't need it because of the sort of strong and good technical decisions that we make along the way. Like, do we build or do we buy? What do we buy? How do we compose our tech stack, right? Our data stack. So those things really help.
And how do you kind of make those kind of decisions then? Is that something you do collaboratively with some of the other team, or how does that kind of work?
I do think a lot of these decisions will live within the more technical side of the company, like scalability and flexibility, scalability. These are terms that are used by engineering people. So we got a lot of guidance from them. Myself, I learned a lot, from our DevOps team when I used to sit next to them as well. So those principles that sort of got injected into my blood, helped me make the right decision. Things like, hey, when is the right time to say, hey, I'm doing enough manual work. Let's look at a scalable solution. You don't want to do it too early because then implementation is a cost. You don't want to get too ahead of the trend, then you can't deliver value as well. But you do it too late, obviously, then there's a whole bunch of tech debt that you have to sort out. So I guess it's a little bit of sort of time in the seat. You just have to be there and learn. And I guess different companies, has different culture, and that would impact or affect, your decision making as well. But I would say being there for long enough, seeing things, from start to end, that's a kind of experience that would help you to make the right decisions.
Yeah, and I think Nearmap's always a company that's always looking to embrace innovation and technology to better their products. And I guess I'll be interested to understand, how Nearmap's products leverage the data that you have in your team, and how innovation can kind of play a role in that.
So in terms of how we deliver value to other teams, there are many things. The bread and butter, obviously, the day-to-day reports. We have a strong data modeling layer, so we keep the data clean. And on top of that, we can build a lot of different reporting use cases without too much effort because the source is clean. So that's the foundation of the team.
Yeah.
And we've been, I think, the last 2-3 years, we invested a lot of time and resources to develop that system integration. So it's not about just people reading reports. Right? I want my product to be deeply integrated with the processes, of my customer. And processes sometimes come with the systems as well. So if the CSMs, they need customer data to interact with the customers. Why not inject that data from data warehouse to the system that they're using, so that those data insight, those data points become triggers of their day-to-day, week-to-week action plan, right? So many use cases like that. Obviously, another big use case is in marketing, where it's all a lot of things can be data driven, right? In olden days, marketing teams would just try to get some spreadsheet and find out who are the customers that need to send an email to, onboarding and stuff like that. Those things can all be automated, right? And once you've automated them, then people would realize that, hey, we have achieved like a level of scalability that we've never had, and we can do a lot more. We can go very deep with our onboarding. We can segment our customers many ways, so that we really personalize the content that we show to them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, I guess, is another good use case. There are also things like how do we embed the data insights back into the actual company product as well. Again, maybe still a little bit marketing, but more on the customer marketing. Like, how do we better the UI process? What sort of in-app prompts, do we show to them? These are all things that would rely on sort of data point event that we collect, from the application itself. And they need processing. They need some kind of business logic there, and they need to be passed back to the system so that, we sort of provide better user interface and experience to customers.
Yeah. So I guess, how would you think companies can ensure that their data investments are actually aligned with the business goals?
Yeah. My personal experience is that it relies a lot on leadership level alignment. So I've tried to do it two ways, right? Like, I try to work with the sort of the operators, but there's only so much reach that you can get on
Yeah.
that level. What I found really useful was really to try go in early. Maybe I talk to my peers in marketing, my peers in finance, and say, hey, these are the capabilities that I'm bringing to the table. These are the ways that I think you can utilize it. What do you think about that? Can we really structure a project together and we actually commit resources in that? I think that really is critical to seeing different data project through to the end and actually delivering value.
Yeah.
I've seen many projects that sort of just started as an ad hoc ticket. People just want to build, a little bit more, but it didn't really have that sort of centralized theme throughout the delivery process, and it sort of just lost focus, right, along some way. So high level business alignment, the acknowledgement and the recognition of a formal collaboration model between the data team and other teams. I think that's it sounds really sort of management, but those things are there for a reason, right? And I do think that they're very important.
And I guess obviously on the flip of that, on the technology side of things, how do you describe the current technical landscape at Nearmap? And I guess what are the tools that you're using to support that kind of data-driven culture?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit controversial here, but I do think we're one of the few true tech companies in that Australian tech company. So we have our own hardware, and that we've got a lab in the office, actually working on hardware, on cameras. We order state-of-the-art lenses from European companies, that do space telescopes and things like that. So I'm lucky to be in a company where technology and innovation is in its very heart. It's part of it's a core part of the DNA. And as a result of that, I think we have very good engineering culture. So we try to build things the right way. We try to not take shortcuts. We try to think about scalability, right? And we try to have a good process. And when things go wrong, we don't blame anyone, that kind of thing. So that's that, I guess, is sort of tech culture in Nearmap. And we obviously, because of that, we're able to build very scalable systems. Not a lot to hack out as well. So that's how I'd describe it.
Nearmap as well, what I've noticed is a lot of guys, particularly in the senior leadership teams who have been with the company on that journey for some time, it's kind of grounded. It's, it's got that foundation running through it. One of the first roles I worked for you was actually an analytics engineer, which at the time when I started working, I was like, wow, what is this? And I guess that's obviously gained quite a lot of traction in recent years. So I just wanted to see, what your thoughts on this role and how it evolved and what new skills you think are critical to that kind of position nowadays.
It's a really interesting question because I mentioned that we're very early adopters of DBT, and I think the concept of analytics engineering is very much coupled with the journey of DBT or DBT labs. They invented this product that basically created this role where someone needs to look after the data warehouse and all the pipelines in it. It used to be called, BI engineers or BI developers, something like that. And I don't think they may not actually be that different in some essence, at least. But I do think as we, as time progressed, the market has shifted, and especially after COVID and after, the last couple years. And what analytics engineers mean now is that it's more a data person. People will be looking for not a data analyst, not a data engineer. If we're talking about hardcore software engineering, but after the data is in a sort of cleanish state, or the roles and responsibilities are getting consolidated into one role, and I think we're calling it analytics engineer. Obviously, that process of consolidation is further along the track in some companies, not in some other companies. But I think where it's going to go is that you're going to have one person do a bit of data modeling, bring the data onto the BI tool, and also creating the dashboards to the stakeholders, and that's what it's going to be. It's what an analytics engineer is going to mean in maybe next year or the year after. I don't really think it'll take that long, for us to reach that stage. I guess one more thing is that, the value that you branch to the stakeholders as well. I've seen project where data analysts prepare a dashboard, PowerPoint, and then, go ask a few questions. I don't really know, where did the data come from, or how it got generated, or, the specifics of the business analyst, the specifics of the business logic behind it. Let's go and ask the analytics engineers. And then obviously that ball just gets, passed around, right? The idea of having like one data person, let's just say, I think it's also sort of a response, from different companies, to this kind of like ball passing problem that they've seen in the past.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of touched on this earlier around automation, but I guess what are the most innovative ways you've seen companies leverage automation to improve their data-driven decision-making?
Automation, I think, let's take Nearmap as an example, right? Where we want to go to. It also covers the topic of AI as well. Automation, if you look at it in a very mechanical way, so again, how quickly does your product get to your customers? And, AI these days, it is a very big topic. And I think L&M is going to be a sort of, probably the tour de center of it, how it could allow people to get insight. And then, people talk about like agents as well, connecting your chat experience to your APIs, integrate with different systems. We in Nearmap are doing that. We're going to launch our LLM product, really soon. And obviously on the roadmap are all these like agents. How do we say leverage LLM models, chatbots and stuff like that to integrate our prod and our content very deeply into the different processes in say, the insurance industry, in the government industry. So I think, AI is going to be a central player. Yeah.
Excellent. And just on that thread then, how do you see things shaping up in the future of AI, particularly when it relates to things like, the work that your team does day to day and also some of the stuff that happens in the wider business?
I think it's all about time to value it, right? I think the data industry is quite mature in terms of how we prepare the data, how we store it. It's about, the problem remains in how we deliver with value again, right? Like it's, you prepare people with a dashboard. It might be what person A wants. It might not be what person B wants. We've been talking about like self-serve for like, I don't know, like decades, centuries, maybe, I don't know. So maybe this is, the tool that will really get us there. So there are lots of products that, are a bit young, but they're already out there. Basically, they just query your data for you. We use Looker. Looker has something like that as well, with strong semantic layer, with clean data. There's a lot of things that you can do already. So, I think how the data teams would use LLM would probably be along that direction, like try to cut the time to value in terms of how the ease of access, the ease to derive insight as well. Not every data analyst is both tech savvy, sort of data savvy, and also knows how to write a whole paragraph of analysis, right? I'm not good at writing, I try to hide from it. But you know what? LLMs, they train, from the literatures of Kafka and, all those poets, from the past. They have better words than I do, right? So, how do we use LLM to fill that gap will be an interesting part as well.
Excellent. Well, look, it's been a really interesting conversation today, John. I guess for those who want to connect with you and interact with you, I'm assuming connect with you on LinkedIn. And if they're interested in still having a chat with you, maybe message you. I also encourage everyone to maybe have a look into Nearmap. Go on their website. They do some really, really cool work, particularly across data, AI, machine learning, all very cutting edge stuff with this image recognition technology. So yeah, thanks for being on the show today, John.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.